Welcome back to some new r/malicious compliance stories, where people comply to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. I hope you had a great day. Thanks for all the likes and comments on the last video. And now let's start with the first story. It's called Stack Everything. I work at a clothing store on the sales floor. My job is basically to assist customers in finding what they need, and also fold, organize and store clothes. During one of my shifts, I noticed a table that was completely overloaded with clothes, with piles stacked ridiculously high. Naturally, I decided to tackle that table first. As I worked through it, I saw that the shelf under the table was completely empty. These shelves are usually used for storing excess items, so I had an idea. Make neatly folded piles on the table and store the extra items on the shelf underneath. According to the store guidelines, you are only supposed to display 2 or 3 items of each size per pile, sorted from largest size at the bottom to smallest on top. There's also an unspoken rule that the pile should reach just below the price sign, so I followed those rules, keeping the display neat and manageable while storing the rest below. As I started placing the excess clothes on the shelf, one of the managers walked by and asked what I was doing. I explained my plan, but he wasn't happy about it. He insisted that I put all the clothes back on the table. I explained why that wasn't a good idea. It would make it harder for customers to find their sizes, and easier for them to accidentally mess up the piles. But he wasn't interested, and told me to stack everything back on the table. So I did as instructed. The piles ended up ridiculously tall. I'm 6'2", and some of the piles were nearly chest high. But that's what the manager wanted, so I moved on to another task. Now, here's where things get interesting. Our store has a baby and toddler section, so parents often shop with their little ones. Not long after I finished stacking the table, a father stood near it, holding his baby on his shoulder. I'm not sure why. Maybe he was burping the baby or trying to calm it, but as he gently rocked back and forth, he accidentally bumped into the side of the table. A few of the tall piles toppled over, landing on the floor behind him, and as if on cue, the baby split up, and due to the motion, it ended up covering many of the shirts that had fallen. It was almost like the universe proving my point. We had no choice but to throw away the clothes that got dirty, and there were a lot. Each shirt cost about $10, and there were easily 10 to 20 shirts on the floor, so we lost several $100s. To make matters worse, the first manager, who had insisted on stacking all the clothes on the table, tried to pin the blame on me. Luckily, I explained the situation to another manager, who sided with me and placed the responsibility back where it belonged, with the first manager. The next story is called What She Asked For. I used to be a retail manager at a convenience store, and as part of my job I had to start work at 5 AM. Now, I'm not a morning person, but I knew how hard it could be to face the day that early. So I made an effort to be cheerful with my customers. I joke a little and always tell them to have a wonderful day as they left. One morning, one of our regulars came in. I greeted her brightly as she approached the counter, but she immediately snapped at me, saying she hated my cheerful demeanor and the way I always told her to have a wonderful day. She then demanded that I never smile or speak to her like that again. Surprised, I apologized and told her I'd comply with her wishes, immediately and permanently. From that point on, I did exactly as she asked. For other customers, I remained my usual cheerful self, chatting and smiling, but whenever she came in, I'd stop smiling, refraining from bantering, and adopt a completely neutral expression. I'd finish the transaction without any pleasantries, and then turn to the next customer with a bright smile, and continue my usual banter. About a month later, the woman came in at her usual time, and complained that she hated how I wouldn't banter with her, like I did with the other customers. She said it made her feel miserable all day. I calmly reminded her of her initial request, and explained that I was simply following her instructions. I also pointed out that I had promised the change would be permanent. She kept coming in every morning at her usual time, and I stuck to the agreement. I remained cheerful with everyone else, but would drop the cheerful demeanor as soon as she approached the counter. She continued to look unhappy each time. Here's the thing, had she simply asked me to tone it down a bit, or told me she wasn't in the mood for banter that day, I would have happily adjusted. Instead, she got exactly what she asked for. The third story is called Extra Hour. I work in an operations center that is staffed 24/7, 365 days a year. No matter the situation, we are there. Recently, out of nowhere, the comptroller became concerned that we might be skimming hours since we don't clock in. Up until now, we just wrote down 12 hours on our time cards. To address this, they introduced a new system. Now we have to clock in using our phone app and then go through two-factor authentication to log onto the computer. This might not sound like much, but our job requires us to hit the ground running. To make sure we are prepared, everyone arrives 15 minutes early to get caught up on the current situation and ensure a smooth handoff. When our shift ends, we also stick around a bit longer to make sure the next team fully understands what's going on and that everything is running smoothly. Here's the twist. My schedule is 4 days on, 4 days off. So with the new clock-in system, I'm now getting an extra hour of overtime that I used to do for free. The last story is called Goats. A few years ago, after I married my husband, my dad made a joke, though it was in poor taste, that he never received his 40 goats as a dowry for letting my husband marry me. We are American and Christian, so dowries are a tradition in our family. Well, my husband and I both love a good prank, and this seemed like the perfect opportunity for a little harmless fun. My dad had said he wanted 40 goats, but he didn't specify what kind of goats, or whether they had to be alive. So, naturally, we hopped on Amazon and ordered 40 tiny toy goats. That Christmas we brought the goats to my parents' house. Once my parents went to bed, we got to work. We carefully placed the goats all over the house. On the kitchen table, above door frames, on the bar in their basement, on the mantle, on end tables, on top of bookcases, you name it. There was a goat there. The next morning, my dad woke up to his long-awaited dowry, though probably not in the form he was expecting. Fast forward to today, and there are still toy goats scattered around their house. My stepmom recently told me that one even fell and hurt her this week. Needless to say, the goats have become a fun little family tradition. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe. And if you have time, watch another one of my videos. Also, if you want to support me further, check out the channel membership or Patreon. And now, I hope you have a great day. See you soon. Bye bye.